Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to go over the technology standards for teachers and students. And I have the technology standards for student standards 1 and 2, and then teacher standards 1. So let me show you my Prezi. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I started with the student standards. So standard 1 talks about creativity and innovation, and students will use technology to help their creative thinking, knowledge, and development of creative products and processes. And I kind of summarized this one. So students will apply their previous knowledge that they know to create something more personal and modeling simulations and finding out different patterns in products or processes. And then in standard 2 is more about collaboration and communication and using digital media to help communicate and work with other individuals that are at a distance from them. So the digital media helps to support and contribute to student learning, group interaction. And what I found interesting about this standards as also helps to develop cultural understanding and awareness because of the different interactions with people. It also talks about the interaction and collaboration and published with peers and experts through digital media, so it's not just individuals that they're communicating with that are their age, but also experts in whatever field they're studying. And then it also talks about project teams and creating their own works and solving real-world problems.
I think in that first one, if you go back to the standard one for students, I think it's really important that that one is emphasized, the standards one, because creativity is really important for students and they need more of that in the classroom.
I also find that the communication one is very key because I find in the classroom setting that, yes, students learn from teachers, but they also learn from each other as well. So I find that communication in the classroom, not only between teacher and student, but student and student, is very, very important.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good way to gain new perspectives on things.
Yeah, I would agree as well. So then my teacher standard, I did standard 1. It's facilitate and inspire students. So I think this pretty much goes for all teachers, but really honing in for technology is to have teachers who are really use subject knowledge based and teaching and learning through technology to support student learning and reflection and collaboration. So teachers being able to clarify student understanding, thinking, planning, creative processes, and exposing them to real world issues and problem solving using digital media and resources. So that they're able to kind of like get their hands on real world problems and use digital tools to help them solve those problems. I also think, teachers in general, model learning knowledge through collaboration, through getting students involved in non-virtual and virtual environments is really important. And I think, teachers as a whole should always really model for their students what they expect before, requiring the students of that expectation.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere they go in the real world, they're going to come across digital technology in some sort of way. So that's very important.
Yeah, I think for, can you go back, Brian?
Sure.
The real world issues and problem solving, like using technology for that, I think it would be cool for kids to maybe what we're on, like the Google Hangout, and talk to kids from maybe another country about issues that are going on in their area.
Okay. And then I also had some examples of these standards. So I used the Shop Till You Drop, which was a lesson example from the Teachers First link, which is in my resources. And the focus was economics for grades 6 through 8. It was a virtual environment for a grocery store, and students would practice calculating tax, unit price, budgeting, using coupons. So this relates to the teacher standard because students are able to explore real-world situations through a virtual environment. And students are able to have that aspect of creativity by creating their own list of groceries unique to the students. So, they can kind of pull the groceries that they want that are to their interest. So it's unique for every student. And then I also think that sharing their information through the budgeting project at the end, which was discussed in the lesson plan, really helps to show their understanding of coupon use, budgeting, and calculating tax. So they're able to share with their peers their understanding of that how to go about a grocery store. And I think this example is really important as well because now we're starting to see like online grocery stores like Peapod and where you're able to online grocery shop. So I think, since this is kind of like the new turn in our society, I feel like this is important for students to know as well.
Yeah.
I also think this is kind of an interesting activity because it's kind of like a small introductory to other real-world situations. So, this is a good kind of precursor to learning about current events and news and accessing research. You know what I mean? So I think that that's kind of a nice little introductory type of activity. I really like that one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Okay, and so for my student standard examples, for student standard 1, there was an example for online music games. So what I really liked about this one is that it allowed students to explore and create and develop their own music using online piano and guitar and drum sounds. They're able to create their own pieces using the musical notes that they know. And they also had like an accommodating feature on this website, which I really liked. So if students aren't exactly sure like what notes or what key, there's actually a ear training tab, which helps students familiarize themselves with the notes and sounds. And so this relates back to my student standard 1, because it uses prior knowledge of like being able to read music notes and recognition of the actual notes in order to create their own piece. And it also shows that modeling of music notes through that accommodating feature. And then students are also able to create patterns through the scaled notes and to create different melodies. So I think this one definitely highlights the student standard 1 through creativity and innovation because they're creating their own pieces through creative work. So they are able to choose like what instrument they want and create their own pieces.
Yeah, that's also cool. It's not just them sitting at a piano, like giving them, and this reflects off one of my standards, giving them lots of varieties of ways to learn, I think will definitely help them with that certain type of learning that they want, because all students learn differently. So.
And all students love music and dancing and creating music and creating sounds. So I think that, in the proper setting, this would be a perfect way for students to kind of blow off some steam as well, kind of move around and explore some music. So I think that's a really cool activity that you have there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Okay, so then a student standard 2 example. So at the beginning of the lesson, the students would discuss and understand different tools used to assist in communication, and later they would participate in a collaborative project. So the different aspects that I found in this example was a peer teach, which teaches someone else's skill or topic using digital media. There was also the option to meet our community, so using digital maps and landmarks in the community, which helps with cultural exchange with other students. And then another tab was publish and share. So students would research a topic over the year and then share their information using published digital media. So, and then another tab or another option was Care and Connect. So students are able to pick a topic or cause of interest, create an online community information for the cause, and rally to others. So this one really ties in nicely with the student standard 2, which is communication collaboration, because this allows students to communicate with not only their peers, their community, to try and rally for different information and causes using this digital media. So, nowadays media is really the big hype, and how everyone kind of gets word through like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So like these would be online safety areas for students to go on and create, cultural information, cultural sites where they're able to get information out to their community and through their peers to use digital media to kind of assist them in communicating with others and their community.
So this is more or less like an educational version of social media, pretty much.
Sort of. So like the different sides are like, okay, so like the bottom one is Care and Connect. So like this one allows students to come up with information, go online, and create like information for the cause, so being able to inform their community. So like these are different activities that students are able to do through this lesson. So they're able to choose like peer teach, so they can teach a skill using digital media. They're really, this lesson really just hones in on using digital media to assist in like either learning a skill or being able to teach like community or others something.
Yeah, I really like the publish and share. I think that like, you know, students being able to research a topic and then share it in some way is an important skill that they'll need not only in high school but, you know, later on in college and maybe even, you know, in their career.
Yeah. Okay, so then my conclusion are the 3 key points to remember of these standards. So I kind of summed them up as a whole. The teacher, it's their job to model and use the digital media to aid collaboration and creative learning and create relevance to student to participate. So that whole kind of like modeling and helping students through clarification, planning, and creativity. And then using digital media for students should be available to follow Bloom's taxonomy to show like advanced understanding of the topic through application of prior knowledge and creation through digital tools. So being able to show that Bloom's taxonomy of applying their knowledge through digital media to show their understanding of a skill. And then digital tools should be used as tools that assist learning, so tools that support collaboration and student learning. So that's that whole collaboration and communication, you know, understanding cultural diversity, engaging learners in real-world problems and solving problems with others. And then those are my references.
And I actually can bounce off of you, Brianne. Let me switch over my screen. I had teacher standards 3 and 4 and student 3. And so for teacher standard 3, it was labeled model digital age work and learning. And this was just, the idea of this was just the modeling stage and keeping the communication between, you know, the student and the parent, because it's very important that, especially with the parents, that they know what's going on in their students' school day. The teacher is also supposed to demonstrate the technology by showing that they are fluent in it and showing the background knowledge that they have about the digital tools, because I mean, if you're a teacher and you get up there and you don't know how to use the technology that you expect your students to use, then you can't expect them to know what they're doing.
Right.
And you always want to like explain it in a positive manner, especially keeping the parents involved in their child's education, because if they see you're making an effort, they're going to want to put the same effort to it. And basically, it's just important to, it helps students clearly understand how to use the resources appropriately.
So what I really like about that one is that parent communication. I really think that parent communication and involvement will assist in helping the teacher, you know, kind of support this idea of technology and the use of technology. The only thing that might be a little bit hard is those students that don't have that technology at home.
Right.
So really, you know, having those students, you know, go into a school or use, you know, resources that they have at the school, you know, parents, you know, being all for that, you know, if the child needs to like stay after school to do a project or something like that, you know, students who maybe don't have that at home, parents still need to be like supportive of the idea of use of technology.
Bouncing off of that, by being able to communicate with parents about what you do in the classroom with the technology aspect, that opens the opportunity for that parent to tell that teacher, you know, for example, you, Danielle, if you were that teacher and you were communicating with those parents about what you're trying to do with technology in the classroom, if they were to say, you know, we don't have a computer at home, that opens the opportunity for you to kind of give their resources, you know, give them your resources. So,
Right.
you know, that's when you know which students need to stay after school and use the computer and which students need to stay after school and access, you know, a smartboard or whatever the technology is that you need to access at home, if that makes any sense.
Yes, no, I agree. I mean, it's definitely important to provide those resources if they don't have them.
Right.
Let me go to my teacher standard 4. And this is promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility. This is just basically modeling how to use the technology appropriately, whether it's citing your sources during research and overall just being responsible when it comes to the digital tools. It teaches basically all of the accommodations technology provides. Like I was saying earlier, I think to Brianne, it's important, like students learn differently than one another. So when the teacher one of the teacher's main roles is to provide these options because the different varieties will be beneficial to some more than others. And also just promoting that it's a great search engine to learn and becoming more aware of others around the world. Like I think Allie was talking about using a website or using an online source to communicate with somebody in another country. I think that's a really cool thing for the teacher to promote.
I definitely think that using technology and allowing students to have this responsibility will help them be more responsible students in general, but I also think it's really important that, like you said in the last one, to have these parents understand that this technology can help their students and accommodate their learning. So it's just another source that students are able to go to help assist them in learning the information that they need to know.
Yes, I agree.
Danielle, I really liked when you said that, they could communicate with people all over the world. I really think that's so true because technology is so readily accessible these days that, chat rooms, you can go into a chat room about any given subject and find the correct answer. You could get on any type of search engine and find that type of answer. You know what I mean? So by implementing that type of communication in the classroom, I do think that would be very eye-opening for students, especially in preparing them for the real world because, I mean, look at us now, we're on a video call, and I think that if we start by teaching them at a younger age, that they'll kind of be more accommodated to the technology that's constantly innovating in the real world.
Yeah, just taking advantage of it overall is very important, I think. Right. Next one. So this is Net Student 3, which is about research and information fluency, and this is just using technology, like the students using technology as a search engine, as we talked about earlier, but this is directly for the student. So it helps them get comfortable and find information through the digital tools, which is what we use a lot, the internet, and as long as you use like the appropriate sources, then it's a great way to find those unanswered questions, and it just overall allows them to become organized with their learning. They will learn how to select appropriate sources based off of the task they're supposed to complete. And not only do they become good at gathering that information, but they learn how to apply it and process what they find so they can apply it to what they are actually, like what their teacher is actually trying to get them to learn.
Yeah, I think that's really good for them to learn at a young age, kind of what I said before, but they need to know how to do this. Every time we write a paper, like now, we have to include sources, and finding appropriate ones is really important.
And finding those websites that are actually accurate, because, I mean, as a younger child, you don't know that websites like Wikipedia and Google, some things are just not the right things to be using in the classroom setting. Like, I think that it's very important that we teach them which types of technology are important to use in the classroom and which types are not. Like you don't want to pull up Twitter or Instagram in a classroom setting because that has nothing to do with their education, whereas going on a search engine that has to do with finding articles and citing, current events and stuff, that's something that you should be kind of directing their attention towards in the classroom, if that makes any sense at all.
Yes, it does.
Well, I think with this standard, it really shows that to like not go towards like the Wikipedia type search engines.
Right.
So, like, Salisbury, like in our classes, like they teach us to go on like the Salisbury search engine and
right.
Search engines that have accredited sites.
Right. It's kind
so
of
being able, I think this is also like talking about like the awareness. So like making your students aware of like what sites they should and shouldn't be on.
Right, and kind of teaching and harping on the fact that taking the easy way out isn't always the most accurate way. Anyone can pull up Wikipedia, but that doesn't mean that the information is accurate. So by providing them the right steps on how to accurately access the correct information, I think that that's going to be very beneficial in the classroom.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
And then just some of my examples for the third standard for teachers. I found an example of an activity where the students are looking at the rock family, and they're supposed to look through all the 3 different kinds of rocks, and they get to choose whatever one they want to learn more about. So they choose one, and they're going to do this by looking through websites. And to stay organized, they have a rock chart that is used for note-taking. But in order to create the concept map at the end, they're supposed to go online to the Read, Write, Think webbing tool. But some students might not know how to use this. So this relates back to the standard because when I was reading this activity, it was highly recommended that the teacher demonstrates how to use the site so they do it correctly, because there's no point in giving this to your students if they don't know how to do it. So this is just like the modeling stage, and essentially, like I said, the teacher's acting as the model for this digital tool, and just in order for the students to know how to use the resources that are provided for them.
This kind of goes off the Vygotsky's scaffolding idea. You know,
Yeah.
the teacher is kind of modeling it, and the students are kind of seeing it, and then you're opening the floor for them to kind of explore and understand. So I really like that idea because that's kind of introducing, you know, a type of technology, but in a steady format. I think that's a really good thing. What was the
I liked it also because, I mean, it's a science project in that you can use technology. It just shows that you can integrate technology into really any subject. So I liked this example too.
Definitely.
And for my fourth standard for teachers, this was an example called Parts Wanted, and basically the students will be learning about cells, organelles, and their functions. So their activity was to pair up with a partner, and they would get an envelope with Help Wanted ads in them, and they were to look through 5 different ones and find similarities. And this was just kind of a pre-warm-up for what they were going to be doing in the next step, which was they were going to choosing an organelle, a specific organelle, and finding what connects to that. So instead of giving clues, or I'm sorry, instead of telling what organelle they choose, instead you give them hints. So when they finish their ad, the teacher will give them options to create their final ad on paper, or if they don't want to do it on paper, they can use PowerPoint, Google Docs, or an online poster called Web Poster Wizard, which I thought was neat. And this relates because, as I was saying, you need to have those accommodations for students who don't all learn the same way. So this is providing the various options. It'll address the needs of all the learners.
Right, and this also opens the opportunity to explore different types of technology that students may not have had access to before. So just because they don't know how to access one thing doesn't mean that shouldn't create the opportunity for them to explore it. You know, so by providing different types of sources, I think that would be very beneficial.
Yes.
What I really liked about this one was that it doesn't necessarily, just have paper. I like that it has the option.
Right.
I like that it gives students different options for how they want to present, because I've seen a lot in the classroom that teachers don't give students that option. So being able to use technology as an option to present gives students like another way that they're able to, outlet and show that their knowledge in a comfortable setting. Because some students, pen and paper, might not be able to show their learning as well that way than through maybe like a PowerPoint presentation where there's videos or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and it also opens the opportunity for presentations to not be so redundant, because after 33 slideshows, you're kind of like, okay, I think I'm getting tired of slideshows. So by having different types of technology, or some people doing it on paper, some people doing it on the computer, some people doing it on a slideshow, some people doing it on a Prezi, I think that opens the opportunity for students to stay engaged and stay involved in what's being taught, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it connects really well to the UDL assignment that we did.
Right.
Like you guys said, some kids might want to write a paper, or I don't know, a presentation, or like a skit or something like that. So.
Right. And for the third standard for the example for students, it was about figurative language, also about another topic. And the object of this activity was just to help students learn more about alliteration and personification. And access to a computer lab was required for this activity because they were to be searching through websites to research that figurative language so they can learn what they find through that site. And there's interactive activities and mini quizzes for them to take. And after they do the research, their project was to show what they've learned through. It's not PowerPoint that we're used to. It's a resource called Zoho Show. And so just researching the figurative language and using Zoho Show allows the students to practice gathering that information like we talked about and showing how they applied and processed that information of what they learned. Go on to the next one. And this is just my conclusion. So I said when talking, where when using the technology standards, it's important to remember that, as we said, students learn differently, and it might come across easier for some than others. So as a teacher, it's just concluded that you just got to be patient with those students, and for example, if they can't process the information as quickly through the digital tools, just be patient with them and let them wean their way into it. My second point is for the teacher, communicating with parents. I think, Brianne, you talked about this one. It can sometimes be difficult, especially through technology, because not everybody has that resource. So just remember that not everybody has access to it at home, and when the teacher, this is when the teacher needs to really get creative with their communication skills, because you really do need to keep those parents involved and find a way. And my third, technology is prone to fail at times. This is something we all have experienced. So I know it's standards for that technology, but we always do need to have a backup plan, because it's a great way to teach an easy lesson, the technology, but if one is only counting on the technology, then we could have complications along the way.
What I like about your last comment there is that having a backup lesson plan, I really think that, technology can be like the main source of your lesson, but being able to use it as assistive tools, so like different outlets through PowerPoint and through Google Docs, does allow for assistance of learning, but, I think maybe sometimes it's better to have technology as an assistant rather than the main source of the lesson.
Right.
I agree.
And then I just have my references from the sources that I used.
Okay, Danielle, I can kind of go bounce off of you based on your conclusion on kind of safety. So let me pull my Prezi up. Hold on. Give me a second.
That's fine.
There we go.
I think it's neat that like each of these standards really just like bounces off of one another, and it's important to know about each one, because I mean, especially the examples we've been providing, they'll be really helpful in the classroom.
Definitely.
I like how the teacher and the student standards kind of connect. So it kind of seems like the teacher standards kind of support what the student's standards are trying to hone in.
Yeah.
So really, as teachers, like to be that support figure and that model, because, technology is kind of scary for students. Like a lot of students have not had the experience.
Right.
Right. All right. You'll have to bear with me. This is my first Prezi.
Yeah.
No. I don't want to present. Oh, no. Okay, we're okay. Okay, so I had National Technology Standards, Student Standards 5 and 6, and Teacher Standards 2. So I'll get started with Student Standards 5. This was digital citizenship. So basically this kind of harps on understanding the issues related to society, civilization.
Hey, Carly, I'm sorry. I can't see your screen.
You can't?
Yeah, just go ahead and pull up your Prezi back up. Hit the shared screen.
Oh, it's not on shared screen anymore?
Yeah.
It's switched back over.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you for letting me know.
Like we said,
Yeah,
technology always has those difficulties.
We're having some difficulties because it's not popping up for screen share. Let me see if I can move this over. Okay. Let me know if you guys can see this now.
Yes.
You're good.
Okay. Can you still see it?
Yep.
Okay. Still see it?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
If you just go to edit and then hit present, you will. But Allie, if you actually want to go ahead and start yours, we can work through
Yeah,
it.
Allie, why don't you go ahead and start, and I'll try to figure out what's going on here.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. I think it's
No,
my
okay.
Technical difficulties, it happens.
Yeah.
There you go, Allie.
It's working?
Yes.
No, go ahead and just start talking.
Okay. Okay, so my first teacher standard was engage in professional growth and leadership. So basically, sorry, this is also my first Prezi, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, is it there?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so teachers improve professional practices through lifelong learning and promote the use of digital tools. So I guess things like professional development, things like that. Participate in learning communities to view creative applications of technology to assist student learning. Develop leadership and technology skills of others as well as themselves through technological infusion, and use current research to use digital resources effectively. So I think that goes along too with what you guys were saying about, picking the correct, websites to use, not just using Wikipedia all the time, things like that. And then my student standard was critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. So students use critical thinking to research and make decisions while using appropriate digital tools. They identify problems and questions for investigation, plan activities to develop a solution or to complete a project, collect and analyze data to identify solutions or make decisions, and then use other perspectives to come up with, sorry guys, I don't know what happened to the text there. But I think that was along the lines of, collaborating with peers to, see how they view things. Okay. So my first example, I also did Shop Till You Drop, Food for Thought. So I know Brianne already explained it, but it just included shopping online so that students can learn how to budget and use coupons to save money. The final project was to present a meal plan through a Google Doc, Excel, interactive book, things like that. So it's a good way for students to not, just use pen and paper. They can do things such as a Google Doc. I
know we talked about this one already, but I think this is a really good example for like any teacher standard because it goes through a lot of the stuff.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Allie.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
So what I really liked about this one, I know it went along with my standard, but I think this one also shows that, like, depending on what sites you allow students to use, go with different activities. So, Shop Till You Drop is really a specific activity that'll go with, like, a certain lesson plan. So using technology and digital media to actually assist in, like, a certain lesson plan. So it has to have relevance. I think using technology effectively, it has to be relevant to the concept that's being taught.
Yeah, I agree. And part of the standard talked about, the teacher helping students develop leadership and allowing, the students to use technology to present their final product, I think was a really good way to do that. And then, text-based activities regarding consumer math related items are often, too basic, so an interactive and technological approach would be a lot more engaging and exciting for students, I think. My next example was called Take a Walk in My Shoes. And a big part of Standard 4 for students was identifying a problem or issue that they could investigate, as well as critical thinking. So in this lesson, students use technology and groups to research the conflicts in the Middle East and why they have plagued the area for years now. And one of the ways they're able to present their work is through a video. So, it's a really good alternative to taking a standardized test or, something like that. So, and then I think also we talked about maybe using technology to communicate with people from, another area. So you could do that with this as well. And then the conclusion, I just said while implementing the standards, it's really important to remember that they're the essential conditions that we looked over, that they have to be present in order for learning through technology to take place. The first 5 conditions can be, directly altered by the teacher, so it's really important that they're used. And then all of the technology standards will not be used at once, so the ones that are most applicable to the content that you're teaching should be used, obviously.
Yeah, I like that last point that you said because it was kind of bringing it all in that, yes, it's great to use technology in the classroom, but if it's not appropriate, then you shouldn't be using it.
Mhm.
Like going back to the Middle East example, that the Middle East lesson example that you had, you wouldn't necessarily use some types of technology when studying that, but you would want to implement others, and that's important to think about when you make your lesson plans for these types of activities.
Okay, and then my resources, and that's it. How did you guys get back to the video? Just escape?
Yep.
Okay.
You just hit stop sharing.
Okay, let's go ahead and try this one more time.
Uh-oh.
Can you all see it?
Yep.
Wait, before you start, is mine still up? Because I can't. Or is it fine?
It's
fine.
Okay, so once again, I have National Technology Standards, Student Standards 5 and 6, and Teacher Standards 2. I'll get started with Student Standards 5, which is digital citizenships. This kind of harps on understanding the issues that are related to society in regards of legal and ethical behavior and using technology to access this information. So through this process, students will learn to advocate for and practice the use of technology and creating an overall positive attitude towards using technology, just to kind of demonstrate the responsibility for lifelong learning and gaining some leadership in the digital world. So this just essentially kind of prepares students to learn how to kind of be a citizen online and kind of, interact with others on the internet safely and efficiently. So
Hey, Carly, your thing's not up.
it's not up again.
No.
What if I just do this? Can you see this now?
No, you gotta hit the screen share button.
I have been.
And then you don't have to come back to our page.
I know. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah, hit present at the top right.
It's when I hit present, it's when it stops. Can you see it now?
No.
See, that's
Okay,
what-
then don't worry about
Yeah,
present.
don't worry about presenting. Just go back to what you were doing and go through it then. We'll be able to see it.
Okay, yeah, I'll zoom in on it for you guys. How about that? All right, can you all see it now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Student Standard 6, and that's labeled Technology Operations and Concepts, which is kind of just students being able to demonstrate an understanding of the technology, not just kind of, watching the teacher do it, but being able to understand and comprehend what the technology is. And by doing that, they'll kind of understand the operations that go through using technology and those systems and how to use them effectively. And this also kind of goes off of the opposite end of the spectrum. Should something stop working, they'll learn how to troubleshoot something through either the classic Control-Alt-Delete, or how to restart your computer, or how to access another type of search engine or resource if some certain resource should be down. And here's my teacher standards. This teacher standards is labeled Design and Develop Digital Age Learning Experiences and Assessments, kind of a mouthful there, which is just kind of saying that teachers are basically to design and implement authentic learning experiences through incorporating technology. So kind of bringing it down to earth and kind of personable so students do understand it in the classroom. Teachers will do this through designing different learning experiences, whether it's kind of using the internet, internet games, online activities, things like that, just to create an open learning environment for students to understand and access technology. Kind of hard because I'm not in present mode. There we go. All right, so for my teacher's first activity, I chose Greek versus Contemporary Architecture. It's based for all age groups, which is what I really liked about it. So you could do it in kindergarten, or you can do it in the 12th grade and just kind of improve it based on the age group, which I think is really cool because it's very universal. But basically, it's just kind of students will research and create comparisons between the Greek architecture and the contemporary architecture through the use of technology and different types of search engines. Students will be able to access information such as history, photos, information, fun facts, anything that they want to know about Greek contemporary architecture Greek architecture and contemporary architecture, and then being able to arrive at a destination of what it is that they're researching. And this really relates to students 5 because it's kind of opening your eyes to the different types of citizens that are around the world, and it kind of creates a cultural standard for students to be researching. So I really like that one.
I like how, like, you kind of stated, like, technology is for all ages, not just for younger children, and I think the standard goes along with it nicely because no matter what you're talking about, you can use technology for your
Right.
I like that, like you said, Danielle, technology can be used for different kids or different ages. So I think the level and depth that you go into the technology use and accessing these photos in history, what I also liked about that was that the students are able to pick like photos or histories. You know, students have an interest in, you know, learning about different cultures, and I think being able to use technology effectively to help them find information rather than just going through books. And having those access to different reading levels of articles or, you know, history information or fun facts will really help students to understand different cultures and be able to relate.
Right, and this kind of demonstrates the personal responsibility aspect of this standard. You know, they get to choose what they want to do and how they want to do it with this project and then go with it. So that kind of opens the opportunity for them to be responsible but also make it their own assignment. So, all right, moving right along to my next example for Student Standard 6. This is Disney Surf and Swell Island. It's kind of just a little website based on teaching kind of internet safety and how to appropriately be a citizen online. So what I really liked about this one is that it's all games with Mickey Mouse. This is for a younger type of crowd, just in means of teaching them you know, what you should be saying online and what you shouldn't be saying online, and it provides a bunch of different things. So there's little quizzes that they can take at home, activities, and flashcards to print off for those students who don't have you know, a computer at home. You can print them off in the classroom. You can study your terminology online. It provides a lot of different games and different ways of looking at things, and really harps on, you know, you shouldn't be giving out different types of information such as your phone number, your address. You shouldn't be saying what school you go to, how old you are, and things like that. It's really, really, really important as us as teachers to teach that because, you know, as great as the internet is, it's also very dangerous, and you don't want your students to be put in any type of position where they're not safe. So by harping on that, this really makes it a fun way of looking at it. I actually went on the game and played it a little bit myself, and I found myself playing it for a while. But it's just basically going through and saying, you know, it's Mickey and Minnie, and they're pulling on different types of yes or no's, and it's basically saying you shouldn't be giving your address out. You should be kind of cognitive of where you are and what age group you're communicating with and who it is appropriate to be talking to online. And it's really fun, and it has like some fun music for them to be listening to while they do it. So I really like this one because it's also a great take-home activity. All right, and here's my Teacher Standard 2 example. This is Google Search Tips and Tricks. This is kind of a different take on the rest of you guys. This is actually an online module that is presented to teachers by professionals. So basically this is mostly for teachers to benefit from. They'll go online, they'll access a chat room, and they'll listen to these modules of these professionals saying how they can implement different types of technology in their classroom. And it's really great because they have a kid-friendly one, so should you want your students to listen to some parts of the module, you can fast forward to the part where that is appropriate with them and open up the discussion for them. So you could say, what about this module did you learn about, and how are you going to implement that into making the internet more safe for yourself? You know, and I really think that this is really, really important. I know it's not as fun as the other activities that were listed, but you know, this is really harping on the safety of the internet and how you should be using the internet safely, and how a teacher can have the control over using that internet and, you know, those technologies in a safe way in the classroom. So I really think that this is really beneficial for teachers and students too, in means of learning what's safe and what's not, and what's appropriate and what isn't, and how you can kind of maneuver around through different tips and tricks to avoid anything that should be coming up inappropriately. So.
Internet safety is a big, big thing, I think, especially with younger children. So that's a really good example.
Yeah, and it just kind of brings it all home, I think, to, you know, by having a professional present, and he'll have details, he'll have data, he'll have statistics to share with you that you can then share with your class. So
what I really liked about that was that, I mean, you did say that like the other standards are a little bit more fun for the kids, but honestly, internet safety is step one.
Right.
So I really do think, your last example of, the Mickey and Minnie online safety, I think, exposing kids to that at a young age, I mean, just getting their feet wet in terms of how to use technology, but I think step one really needs to be, safety and how we use technology. I think that groundwork needs to be laid down before they're able to just, creatively, independently go on different sites.
Yeah,
right. And that's what I like about this standard, because it kind of lays the foundation. It makes things more clear of what you should be doing in the classroom and what you should not be doing. So. All right, and just to wrap it up in conclusion, the 3 points that I really thought to keep in mind during my creation of this project was, when implementing technology in the classroom, it is so important to provide resources for students to research with. So by giving them the options, okay, you'll have this search engine, or this search engine. You should not be on any other websites besides these. That really opens the idea of the internet safety aspect, and that kind of gives only the option of them to be able to explore 3 different resources instead of 5, because that way they won't be overwhelmed and they won't be kind of lost in translation. It'll just create some organization and some direction to the assignments. And with that being said, going off of the safety aspect, it's important to recognize the age group, so that way you wouldn't want to have a kindergarten classroom going onto the Salisbury University library website and accessing articles there. That just doesn't make sense. They're not going to understand it. But instead, looking up at the different types of search engines that are available for, kid-friendly and game-friendly, things like that. And to provide various sources to keep everyone safe in the classroom. Making sure that doing your background checks, making sure that the search engines are safe and they're reliable and they're not, they can be edited by anyone. So by doing your homework, in making your lesson plan, it will actually make you a little bit more prepared, and that will make your technology lesson run a lot smoother. So
okay, I like that. I like that conclusion.
And just to arrive at my sources. And does anyone have any questions or anything?
No, I think we covered each one of them pretty well, and now we just have a better understanding of each of the teacher and student standards, and which I think is important for when we become teachers.
Right. I really think that these standards and studying them at this age has been really great, because now it's kind of eye-opening for us when we go into our, placements and our internships and stuff like that. So I really think this was beneficial.
I feel like it definitely helped us, as a whole, to understand like how the teacher, entering this class, like I wasn't really sure how to use technology in the classroom, but going over these standards, it shows like how the teacher standards really support the student standards and what is expected of teachers, and how we can kind of use this technology to support our learning and support our students and their understanding of these topics.
Yeah, I think it's so important too. Like, technology makes it so much more engaging and fun for students, so they want to learn, not just sitting there bored. But
definitely.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, everyone have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. See you soon.